I got the brains, she got. Well, not everyone can be management material, my twin sister Vanessa announced to her rapt audience of marketing executives, her champagne flute raised in mock sympathy. The words had barely left her lips when our CEO, Jonathan Blackwood, materialized behind her like a perfectly timed ghost. Would he finally tell them who really wrote the business philosophy book that had made him a Fortune 500 celebrity? The rooftop terrace of Blackwood Industries hummed with the forced laughter of corporate networking, San Francisco's skyline glittering behind floor-to-ceiling windows. I stood by the dessert table in my simple black dress, the uniform of the invisible assistant, watching Vanessa hold court in her designer suit. We had the same face, the same hazel eyes, even the same nervous habit of twisting our rings when anxious. But where I'd chosen shadows, she'd chosen spotlights, climbing the corporate ladder with a determination that bordered on desperation. Vanessa. Jonathan's voice boomed across the terrace. Just the person I wanted to see. Come, there's someone I want you to meet. I watched the color drain from my sister's face as she recognized the woman at Jonathan's side, Patricia Williams. The head of HR who'd been documenting every whispered complaint and questionable decision for the past 6 months. But it was Jonathan's next words that made the champagne glass tremble in Vanessa's perfectly manicured hand. Patricia's been asking about the process behind leadership in the digital age, Jonathan said, his smile sharp as broken glass. I was just telling her about my brilliant ghostwriter. The party seemed to pause, conversations trailing off as people sensed drama unfolding. Vanessa's court of admirers leaned in, eager to hear about the mysterious writer behind the book that had transformed Jonathan from a competent CEO into a thought leader whose TED Talks commanded 6 figures. Oh, the ghostwriter, Vanessa laughed, but it came out brittle. Yes, Jonathan worked with an excellent team, not a team, Jonathan corrected. One person. A brilliant mind who understood my vision better than I did myself. His eyes found mine across the terrace. In fact, she's here tonight. I set down the chocolate-covered strawberry I'd been considering and mentally calculated the distance to the exit. 3 years of anonymity were about to end in the worst possible way. Really? Patricia's voice carried that dangerous HR tone that suggested files were already being updated. I'd love to meet them. The book has become such a cornerstone of our corporate philosophy. Victoria. Jonathan called out, and I winced. He was using my full name, the one only he and legal documents used. Come join us. Vanessa's head snapped around, her eyes finding mine with a mixture of confusion and growing dread. I made my way through the crowd, feeling the weight of curious stares as people tried to place me. The executive assistant who scheduled meetings and ordered lunch. The quiet twin who'd been hired on Vanessa's recommendation 5 years ago. The one who wasn't management material. Everyone, Jonathan announced as I reached the group. Meet Victoria Chen, the actual genius behind leadership in the digital age. Every word, every concept, every breakthrough idea, all hers. The silence was deafening. Vanessa's carefully cultivated audience looked between us, seeing the resemblance but struggling to reconcile it with the hierarchy they'd accepted. Patricia's fingers flew over her phone, undoubtedly taking notes. That's impossible, Vanessa managed. Victoria is my assistant. She answers phones. Your assistant? Jonathan's eyebrows rose. Interesting. I wasn't aware of that arrangement. Patricia, were you? Patricia's shark smile widened. No, I wasn't. Our records show Victoria reports directly to operations, not marketing. Vanessa, have you been utilizing company resources for personal tasks? No. I mean, she helps sometimes, but, Vanessa was scrambling. It's a misunderstanding. Like the misunderstanding where you told the board you'd contributed to the book's development. Jonathan asked casually. I remember you mentioning your collaborative input during your promotion review. I closed my eyes. Here it came. Well, we're twins. We discuss everything. Natural osmosis. Jonathan tested the word. Patricia, make a note. Ms. Chen believes professional accomplishments can be absorbed through proximity. The crowd had formed a complete circle now, drawn by the scent of corporate blood in the water. These were the same people who'd ignored me for years, who'd spoken over me in meetings, who'd assumed the quiet twin was the dumb twin. Victoria, Jonathan turned to me, his voice gentler. Tell them about Chapter 12. The one about authentic leadership versus performed authority. I met Vanessa's panicked gaze. 3 years of keeping this secret, of letting her shine while I remained invisible. 3 years of writing Jonathan's thoughts more clearly than he could. Of turning his rambling voice memos into coherent philosophy. Of watching my words launch him onto bestseller lists while I scheduled his appointments. Chapter 12 discusses how genuine expertise naturally commands respect, I said quietly. While manufactured authority requires constant performance and ultimately collapses under scrutiny. Brilliant, someone murmured. That's the chapter they teach at Harvard Business School now. Vanessa's laugh was too loud, too sharp. This is ridiculous. Victoria's smart, sure, but she's not a writer. She's, what am I, Vanessa? I asked. Since you seem so confident about my limitations. Your support staff, she snapped, desperation making her cruel. You've always been support staff. Even in college, you were the one taking notes while I led the presentations. You're the behind-the-scenes twin. I'm the one who what? Patricia interrupted. I'm very interested in how you view hierarchies within this company, Ms. Chen. Vanessa realized her mistake too late. I didn't mean, tell them about your promotion, Jonathan suggested. The one where you presented a revolutionary framework for digital transformation. It sounded remarkably similar to Chapter 8 of my book. Almost word for word, actually. The color that had drained from Vanessa's face came rushing back. That was my own work based on industry best practices, your sister's industry best practices, Jonathan corrected. Victoria, did you help Vanessa with that presentation? This was it. The moment where I could destroy her career with a single word. She'd taken credit for my ideas, used my work to climb the ladder, all while publicly dismissing me as the lesser twin. The unfairness of it burned in my chest. I started, then caught sight of her hands. She was twisting her ring, our grandmother's ring, the match to mine. The same nervous habit, the same tell. We were still the twins who'd shared everything. Who'd survived our parents' divorce by promising to always protect each other, even when that protection only went one way. I occasionally offered suggestions, I said carefully. Vanessa's always been good at presentation. I'm better at research and writing. We've always complemented each other. It was a lifeline, and Vanessa knew it. But Jonathan wasn't done. Complemented each other, he repeated. Yet only one of you has been compensated for their contributions. Patricia, what's the salary differential between a senior marketing director and an executive assistant? Approximately 300%, Patricia supplied helpfully. Interesting. Jonathan sipped his whiskey. And the bonus structure? Performance-based for directors. Standard corporate pool for support staff. So Vanessa received bonuses for presenting Victoria's work while Victoria received. What? 2% annual raises? The crowd murmured. Someone whispered about lawsuits. Another mentioned intellectual property theft. It wasn't like that, Vanessa said weakly. We're family. We share, do you? Jonathan asked. Victoria, has Vanessa shared her bonuses with you? Her stock options? Her company car allowance? This is a family matter, I said, trying to de-escalate. Not relevant to, it's entirely relevant, Patricia interrupted. Misrepresentation of contributions, potential fraud, creating hostile work environments for family members, hostile? Vanessa's voice cracked. I got her this job. To be your personal assistant while she ghostwrote a best-selling book? Patricia's fingers were flying over her phone. This is fascinating. Please, continue. Jonathan set down his glass with deliberate precision. Let me tell you all a story. 4 years ago, I had ideas but no ability to articulate them. I hired dozens of writers, consultants, communication experts. Nothing worked. Then my operations manager mentioned his assistant had a gift for clarifying complex concepts. I was skeptical, an executive assistant with no publishing credits, no platform, no reputation. He paused, letting the tension build. 20 years of CEO experience showing in his timing. The first chapter she wrote made me cry, he continued. Not because it was emotional, but because it was exactly what I'd been trying to say for years. She understood not just my ideas but the deeper philosophy I couldn't even articulate myself. For 3 years, she's turned my rambling thoughts into profound insights, my corporate speak into accessible wisdom. That book has generated $12 million in speaking fees alone, not to mention the consulting contracts, the board positions, the entire transformation of our corporate culture. If she's so brilliant, Vanessa said, desperation making her mean, why hide it? Why stay in the shadows? I looked at her, really looked at her. My twin sister who'd always needed the spotlight to feel real. Who'd measured her worth in titles and salaries. Who'd never understood that some people found power in being unseen. Because I didn't write it for recognition, I said simply. I wrote it because the ideas mattered. Because Jonathan had insights worth sharing but needed help sharing them. Because the work itself was more important than the credit. Bullshit, Vanessa snapped. You were afraid. Afraid to put yourself out there, afraid to fail, afraid to be judged. So you hid behind me, behind Jonathan, behind anyone who'd stand in front while you cowered in the back. The words hung in the air like a challenge. The crowd leaned in, sensing the kill. Maybe, I admitted. Or maybe I understood something you never did. Real power isn't about being seen. It's about shaping how others see. Every word Jonathan speaks in boardrooms comes from my laptop. Every framework our company uses to make decisions originated in my apartment at 2 a.m. Every idea you've claimed as yours started in the notebook I've carried since college. I don't need my name on the cover to know my worth. But you should have it anyway, Jonathan said firmly. Which is why the second edition will list you as co-author. And why I'm announcing tonight that Victoria Chen is being promoted to Chief Strategy Officer, reporting directly to me, with a compensation package that reflects her actual contributions to this company. The gasp from the crowd was audible. Chief Strategy Officer, a C-suite position. Higher than Vanessa's director role by several levels. You can't, Vanessa started. I can and I am, Jonathan said. Patricia, please schedule a meeting with the Chen sisters for Monday morning. We need to discuss several issues, including the misappropriation of company resources and intellectual property. No, I said quickly. No investigation into Vanessa. Everyone turned to stare at me. She's my sister, I continued. Yes, she took credit for my work. Yes, she minimized my contributions. Yes, she treated me as lesser. But she also got me in the door. She also pushed me to write when I was too scared to start. She also, in her own twisted way, protected me from the spotlight I wasn't ready for. By demeaning you publicly? Patricia asked. By being the shield between me and a world I wasn't ready to navigate, I said. I'm ready now. But I wasn't then. And if the price of my growth was her ego, well, I've paid it. The debt's clear. Vanessa's eyes filled with tears. Tori, don't, I said gently. We both know what you did. We both know why. And we both know it stops now. She nodded, mascara starting to run. The crowd began to disperse, sensing the show was over but the real drama just beginning. Patricia promised to email me about Monday's meeting. Jonathan squeezed my shoulder and told me the announcement would be company-wide by morning, and Vanessa and I stood on that rooftop. Identical faces reflecting different choices, different values, different kinds of strength. I really did get the brains, she said finally, trying for our old joke. Just not the ones that mattered. You got exactly what you needed, I corrected. The ability to be seen, to claim space, to demand attention. I could never do that. And I could never do what you do, she admitted. Create something from nothing. Make other people sound smarter than they are. God, Tori, that book, I read it a dozen times trying to understand. How you made Jonathan sound like a cross between Warren Buffett and Maya Angelou. Strong. Coffee and a lifetime of translating your presentations into English, I said. And we both laughed, real laughter this time. Not the performed kind. Are you going to fire me? She asked. Are you going to keep claiming my work as yours? No. The word came out small but certain. No more stealing. Though I might need actual help with my presentations now. Good thing your twin sister's about to be Chief Strategy Officer then. We stood side by side, watching the city lights below. Tomorrow would bring complications, HR meetings, departmental reshuffling, the delicate dance of sisters becoming professional equals. There would be resentment and adjustment, boundaries to establish and old patterns to break, but tonight, we were just twins on a rooftop, one finally stepping into the light, the other learning to share it. The same face, the same hands twisting the same nervous rings, but finally, standing on level ground. Hey Tori? Vanessa said quietly. Yeah? Chapter 15. The one about authentic success versus performed achievement. Was that about us? I smiled. Every chapter was about us, Ness. You just weren't ready to see it. And now? Now you're about to learn what it's like when the person writing your story stops letting you edit the ending. She nodded, understanding flooding her face. Plot twist. The best kind, I agreed. The one where both characters get to grow. The party continued around us. But we stood apart, two twins, two paths. One shared future that would require us both to be exactly who we were, not who we'd pretended to be. Vanessa had gotten the brains for performance. I'd gotten the brains for truth. Finally, we both knew which kind mattered more. ***.